Cage has a big one. So welcome back to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo My. And I hope you guys stay tuned to see just how big Cage is.
That's funny. Look what you did. That was funny. That was good. I wasn't expecting that. That was a good one.
That's along the same theme. That's what she said. So I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze. We just wrapped up recording an awesome episode of Crypto Casuals, which is our new show. And I know we're maybe 4 episodes in, but I do believe we're the best NFT and crypto show out there when it comes to talking, communicating, educating the common man and woman. So you guys are going to want to stay tuned. It was Zane was on it, someone who worked for Gary Vee, worked on VeeFriends. It has a ton of knowledge, content, information about NFTs. That's going to be released more than likely either tomorrow, Friday, or Saturday. Our content team's working on it. Today, Cage said he has a big one. He has a big topic to discuss. I have a play that I didn't realize I had up until this moment, and I think it's one of my favorite plays up until this date. It's not an investment play; it's an arbitrage play. That's what it is. So I think you're going to want to stay tuned till the end if you want to make some money.
Hey, what do you think of base cards now? You think base cards are a play? What do you think? What do you think about base cards?
Well, we made a post with Adam Real 27 guy and like advice for newcomers, and one of the comments underneath from a very respected, esteemed account was, stay away from base cards. But I don't agree with that. I really don't, because base cards are a tool, like a hammer, right? And if you just try to use a hammer, to screw something in, it won't work. But if you understand its purpose, and they make a lot of sense. So I think base cards are great for the young guy or girl who just entered into the hobby that might have $50, $100 that wants to color up. I mean, Miles Bridges is an amazing example. Before the season, his base card was like $30, $40. The ungraded Star Stock A's were like $1 or $2. Now they're $7 or $8. So I think it's foolish, and I think it steers people in the wrong direction when you say you should stay away from base cards, because that's all I can afford. And they're volatile and they move up and down based on players' performance. And it's a great way to turn a few $100 into $1,000. And then you could start entering into the higher tiers of silvers and colored and autos and stuff like that. But right off the bat, man, base cards made me. I might not be sitting here today if I invested in a Zion silver instead of Zion base. So it's and silver, we could talk if silver is a base card or not, whatever. But
it's interesting. I've been doing some thought. You talk about our crypto casuals, and part of me being negative and the whole 9 yards on PFPs. I kind of compare a lot of what's going on in the NFT space to base cards. I think you're 100% right. I think there's definitely room for them in the space, and you're right. I think it's a way to kind of build up on it. It's an interesting thing. So here's the low end cards are an interesting part of my topic for the day, and it's I want to talk about the PWCC auction. All right, and a lot of people, I don't know if you've been paying attention to this or not. There's been a lot of posts about it, a lot of interesting things going on, a lot of sales happening, and I was ready to come on here yesterday and talk about the PWCC auction and say, hey, guys, eBay and PWCC had their divorce 2 months ago, right? And we talked about it. Everyone knew about it. If you had cards with PWCC that you wanted to sell on eBay, you could have very easily contacted PWCC and said, give me my cards back. What do you think? They wouldn't have sent them to you? Right? I'm sure they would have sent them to you. And what I would love to know is if anybody out there tried that and was told no. When you consigned with us, we have the right to relist them however we want to relist them. I would love to know if PWCC did that. I'd be shocked if that's what they did, right? So I was ready to come on here yesterday and talk about this and almost defend PWCC in the face of their low price auctions, right? In the face of their, the first couple of days, a lot of the lower end cards sold for a lot less than what people would have thought they would sell for. There was a lot of talk.
I don't think that's such a bad thing. Because sometimes cards sell for more than they should sell for.
That's true.
And that benefits the seller. Sometimes cards sell for less and it benefits the buyer. That buyer is just going to reinvest that profit anyway. So you left meat on the bone. I don't think it's just be so binary good or bad.
I think what they're saying, of course, is that, PWCC didn't publish their auction well enough. They didn't go out there and publicize it, and that, you know, most of the talking heads out there are either in bed with or take money from the competitors in the space, whether that be Golden or eBay or whoever it may be, so that PWCC wasn't able to get the word out there, and that maybe this is a sign of things to come, and that, you know,
But by the same token, Cage, there was that record Jordan sale, right?
So the higher end stuff's a different story, right?
But my point is, they did publicize it. They did get a record sale for the Jordan, and the seller benefited.
Right. So I think what the talking point right now is that the lower end stuff they're not going to promote, and the lower end stuff is what they need to promote. When a Jordan sells, people are going to know a Jordan is selling. They go to PWCC. It's just like you said, PWCC is for like higher end stuff. You know what I mean? But here's where the rubber hits the road, and why this is a new topic. It's not. We don't bring up old news. We're lucky we have a daily show here. I can post this if need be. But last night,
post every single day.
Last night, yes, I did. Last night, I had a salad for lunch today, though. I had a kale salad for lunch.
He's
today.
back.
I did. I had a salad for lunch. It was good.
Now I know you are committed to change.
Kale salad. So I really did. And I told people here, and they're like, "No, you didn't." I really did.
Did you drink soda with it?
I did. I had one Diet Coke during lunch. I did not order it. I was drinking water, and someone I was eating lunch with said, "Can we just get a couple Diet sodas?" I did not say no. I'm just going to stick with water. But I did. I'm drinking soda right now. Here's where the rubber hits the road, folks. All right? So last night happened to be, there was F1, you know, there was hockey. It wasn't exactly, you know, a hotly contested. There were all wrestling cards also, right? But at about 9:50 Eastern time, 10 minutes to go in the auction, I was perusing the auctions. At 9:56, I had clicked on an auction that I was going to bid on, because you need to get your initial bids in before 10 o'clock, right? I actually was clicking bid now.
Yep. Ronda Rousey tops.
No, it was actually a racing card. Okay, not one of the newer ones though. It was actually it was an older racing card, right? So I was going to bid on something, and there were 4 other items in my watch list that I planned to put bids on to make sure I got my bids on and could bid in extended bidding. I had completed bidding on one item, okay, and was planning on bidding on several more. But 9:56, when I clicked bid on this, I was taken back to the main monthly auction screen and was told there are no auctions available, right? So I refreshed it, went through the sorting again, filtered it by that day, no auctions available. Filtered it by everything just to see what's going on, no auctions available. So basically, at 9:56, with 4 minutes left of the main auction, the auction crashed, which, if everybody in the world gives Ken Golden a little bit of a hard time about his website, well, let's do the same here. Okay, this is the first month of doing auctions on your own, auctions on the website, and the website crashed. Now, they realized it. People were talking about it. There was a lot of stuff on Twitter and whatnot. And to their credit, they got it right back up online at like 10:01, 7:01 their time. 5 minutes, easy, boom, back on. But here's the problem. It's those 5 minutes that are relevant, right? Because in those 5 minutes, going from 9:56 to 10:01, extended bidding started at 10 o'clock. So only the auctions, you were only able to bid at that point in time on auctions you had already bid on. So I'm saying, look, part of this is on me. I shouldn't wait to the last 4 minutes to bid on these things. But if the rules are I can put in my initial bids until 10 p.m. and then your site crashes and I can't bid, some of the auctions I was going to bid on ended with no additional bids. So I can tell you without hesitation that certain lots ended last night for less than they otherwise would have ended for had that not crashed. Had this not happened. Because I was now not able to actually get an initial bid in because of the crash that happened before 10 o'clock. You understand what I'm saying? So
I hear a sob story.
When they put it back on, no, I could care less about winning. I probably wasn't going to win any of these things. And it's not a sob story for me. The story is for people who were consigned with PWCC, who, because of their crash, did not get as much as they probably should have, or I know they would have based on my additional bid. They would have gotten more. When it came on at 10:01, I was fully expecting some sort of an announcement from PWCC. I was expecting something like we crashed before extended bidding. We are going to, extend the bids till 10:30 and then kick blah 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 at that point in time. The problem is I don't think they are able to do it. This is their first time doing it. I don't know if they had a coder or somebody who could reset their auction or somebody available to make that change on the fly. When it came back on, it was an extended bidding and only the items that you had bid on. And I had one that I had bid on, and I was able to bid on that one if I wanted to. But at that point in time, I'm like, this is kind of sad. So PWCC, I know you guys listen to this. I know I'd love to have you on and talk to you about this because I do have a picture of the whole thing saying there's no lots, and it's 959. I was smart enough I'm trying to bid, and I'm, you know what? It's bigger than me. It's not my sob story. This is now facts. I have a picture, 959. I posted it in one of our groups last night that says no auctions available. So it did crash before extended, bidding. And when it came back on, they were already in extended bidding. I wonder if anybody else out there had the same issue. If anybody else out there was a dummy like me waiting until the last minute, because that's what you do most of the time in auctions, and wasn't able to get a bid in on something. I'd love to hear from you. Message me if that's the case. Now, from the look on your face, do you think this is a non-issue?
I think this is people got what they deserve. I think the hobby always wants to remain a hobby, so they're going to have to deal with a lack of professionalism in the businesses. The businesses in the hobby aren't real businesses. They lack professionalism across the board.
Interesting. So you just think this is just par for the course? It's just another one of those things that happens, right? Auction sites go down.
We always say it's a hobby. So if it is what it is.
Big money hobby.
Yeah, but the owners of the hobby, the people that run the big businesses, don't give a fuck about people who are in the hobby. Dude, I saw Nat Turner. The guy lives in New York. PSA is in California.
It's true.
You think he cares about the hobby? Dude, he cares about opening packs on Star Stock and hitting his X3 2000 Kobe. He cares about that and getting it graded by PSA, probably bulk level. But dude, they don't care. Brett from PWCC, he's anonymous. He's probably the one of he's Ken Golden. Ken Golden's site has been terrible for years, and he has a vault coming, but he cares about Peacock shirts. So I'm saying cross the board, alt. They just want to take your data.
So I shouldn't be surprised by this. I should have expected something like this coming and put my bid in.
I'll keep going. Panini has had 237 complaints to the Better Business Bureau.
Yeah, I saw that post.
In Texas.
It's pretty nuts.
BGS has literally rug pulled worse than any NFT project ever will, because people's cards, people don't even know where their cards are with BGS. There are people who have had cards with BGS for 1 calendar year on a 20-day sub that they have no idea if it'll take 1 more year, 1 more day, 100 more years. So it's across the board. I mean, but this is what people want, right? The leaders, and Josh and Chris Hodge, they are always the ones that say, this is a hobby. This is a hobby. And all other guys, they say it's a hobby. Well, if it's a hobby, you're going to have this lack of professionalism, this things going wrong. It happens in other spaces too, so I don't want to be unfair.
Right.
But that's how I see it. You get what you sort of pay for. I think that the business owners, and this is where regulation is important. I do believe, I know a lot of people don't want regulation. Regulation is kind of this weird buzzword. But there should be a way to hold bad businesses accountable. I don't really have the answer. There's a lot of smarter people than me. I'm a 31-year-old. I'm just starting my entrepreneurial journey 5 years in, trying to figure it out. So I don't have the resources or the credibility, but I do wish that there was a solution to hold businesses accountable for not doing their part.
So talk to me about BGS, because my topic is this, and if you're thinking it's just kind of like par for the course, and maybe that's the case, do we just give up and give in and say, all right, this is it? It's just what we should be expecting. Nobody's going to make it any better. Fine. So PWCC, we move on.
I think they should be fined.
Talk about BGS. What's going on with BGS? I haven't graded with BGS in forever, right? You mentioned BGS. It's funny because I asked you this because I saw a post about Panini, but the comments to that post where it's Panini, Better Business Bureau, they're not doing the redemptions. Most of the comments to the post that was out there were, if this is bad, what about BGS? Like BGS, like where's Better Business Bureau for BGS?
That's what I said.
But what are they doing? It's just that they're just not returning cards?
I think they should be sued. I really do. I think they should be sued and fined. Like, I think they owe people whose cards that they're holding, they owe them repercussions. I think they owe them damages and loss of profit. Now, that's all. I don't know if that's even legally allowed, right? Because when you sign that contract, that verbal agreement, it's not 20 days that they're promising. They're saying that it's approximately 20 days. It's an estimate. So they're like hiding behind jargon.
Yep.
But after the fine, it's false advertising.
It's very interesting. It's a great conversation, from a legal perspective. What's funny about it though is, about 5 minutes ago when I told you about PWCC and you basically were like, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes people sell for less and people make money and there's meat on the bone, there's meat left on the bone. And, there's two sides to the coin and maybe they sold for less now, but okay, people are buying it. You can't complain because, some people got more than they should have. Some auctions end higher, right? So, can't BGS turn around and say, all right, fine, you want to hit me now? Where were all of you when I held your cards while cards were all going up? And the fact that I held your cards made it worth more. Like, where are all the people who sent in the Trae Young's base cards when they were worth $5? And if they would have gotten back in 20 days and sold them, they would turn their 5 to 20. But because they got them back in 3 months, they turned their $5 into 150. Should they also be able to now bill more for when they hang on to your card, it winds up making it worth more?
No, they shouldn't, because these businesses don't. You get repaid for risk. All the risk that's being taken is by the individuals. These companies hold very little risk. They're marketplaces and they're grading companies. So they're just service providers, really.
It's really interesting, all of the things that are out there. With, you would think, and even just your couple of minutes there, it's real eye-opening, right? Because, we can look at the top line. We like to talk about this all the time. Read beyond the headline. Right, read beyond the headline. We say, all right, the headline is the Wayne Gretzky card sells for this much. But if you look, the reason why it's sold for so little is because the card's hideous. You know what I mean? It's one of the bad versions of the PSA 8. The headline for the hobby is more people and more money are pouring in than ever before. Fanatics has to see something because it's they've pumped $16 trillion into this and they've bought all these licenses. But if you read beyond the headline, is the hobby healthy? Are you trying to say that it's that there's more to it here, that there's a lot more negative than meets the eye?
There's like 200 people whose pockets that money's going into. Like, it's just that simple. That's pretty frustrating. And guys, I was in a great mood before this, but like, I come from small business. I said this.
I have this ability, folks. I can change Andrew's mood from very good mood to very bad mood. I have this. It's a quality. If I figure out how to monetize it, I do it so well, basically every day.
Yesterday we had an episode. Man. Who did we have on yesterday? I don't remember. We were like doing an episode, and right before KJ's like, "Let me tell you about your tax situation. What's gonna happen here?" Like 3 minutes before the episode, I'm like, "What do you want me to do with this information?" Like.
Let me tell you about taxes.
And then he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to handle my own taxes. You handle your own." So I'm just telling you. Okay. Like, great.
Well, listen, for lack of a better way of saying this, you're going to be in a lower tax bracket, so it's better for you to handle your taxes. You don't want them lumped in with mine. You'll pay less.
The NFT world's still young.
That's right. You still have 2 months.
We'll see how much you can write off by the end of the year.
Yeah.
I heard
a lot of
My Little Orphan is coming out with
the greatest write-off ever.
The second tier, and I'm fingers closed I could get in the mint.
Oh man, listen, what a fun space. What a fun, every single day something else new to talk about. I need to lose money on something else, but you have something besides the orphan.
I think what's the real takeaway is this is why a Gary V is so important. Not specifically Gary, but a Gary V. Somebody that brings joy and optimism to the hobby. Sure, he makes his money. Sure, he has a ton of cards. He's bought all those cards with his own money. Those cards that are in all his pictures, like the stack of Lucas Silver, all that, the LeBron Topps Chrome. But this is why galleries are important. They bring optimism, they bring excitement, they bring culture, they bring rappers, they bring artists, they bring stars into the hobby. Like, you need that. You need positivity. You need optimism. You need to give people hope. If all the hobby is dealing with is issues, concerns, and fear about the future, how can they confidently deploy their hard-earned money into cards and grading services and then to sell them to marketplaces? They're getting screwed on every single aspect of the hobby. Hobby prices like boxes are more expensive. Grading is incredibly more expensive and not even existing. Marketplaces don't work properly. And if you sign up for a company, they're going to take your data. Like, what kind of positivity does that leave to people? Like, hey, let's get in and have some fun. This is why Bleeker's the best. This is why card shops are the best, because you don't deal with any of that stuff. You just vibe, you drink beers, you smoke cigars, you eat good pizza, you laugh, you watch sports games. Like, poker nights would be cool. Like, that's why small card shops are the most important part of the hobby, because they build these. We always talk about Web3, right? Web 2, Web 3, this whole NFT thing. It's really just put into Web 3. It's small communities. So you have the Kentucky sports card shop, and you have the 100, 200 people in Kentucky that always come. And then you have the people passing through. Costa just opened his his business in Boston. Robert Kraft cut the ribbon.
The Vault. That was awesome.
Card Collector 2. You have Cards and Coffee. You have these little micro communities. I'll say Bleeker again because I love Zablo. I love Jacob. I love that. I love Christian and Ben. I like that team a lot. So that's why these card shops are so important. They're the only place left that can bring optimism, hope, and just some fun back into the hobby.
I like it. And I mean, listen, there's a lot of stuff there, right? I mean, those are the jockeys you're talking about, right? Not the horse. And, when there's negativity or when prices go down or when there's, other stuff going on, you'll still have that store to go to. You still have Ryan's card store to go to and hang out and rip some packs and make it an event. You still have the community. You still have that stuff that's going on, right? So I love it. It's important. I want to hear your play. Let me give mine in 2 minutes, or the best I can.
2 minutes too.
Okay, good. So then it'll be a shortish episode, right? So we're talking about Beckett. We're talking about grading. We're talking about PSA. Talking about that stuff. Let me ask you a question, right? My question for you is this: when PSA finally opens up bulk grading again, okay? Assuming they do it, we've had Nat Turner, we have a bunch of them on, and they've said they want to do it. When PSA opens bulk grading up again, how much do you think it's going to cost to grade a card?
I don't know why Nat wouldn't just tell us. He goes on like this circuit tour.
I don't think it's his decision to make, and I don't think
he's the CEO. He's literally the owner of the business. He gets to decide how much a smoothie costs.
I leaned back too far and knocked my phone.
And shout out, guys. Card Talk just had Nat Turner on today. I think it airs tomorrow. So, I mean, maybe there's a special announcement there where he says bulk is back. First 1,000 submissions are free. Now, like, that sounds asinine, right? That sounds crazy. But why not? Like, why not do $8 bulk until the end of 2023? I don't know. It depends what their angle is. If their angle is to take as much profit. You know about elastic and inelastic demand?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
Grading is an inelastic demand because people need it to make money. So they'll have to pay whatever amount that they need. Well, whatever amount they set it within reason, right? Like, obviously it becomes a point where it's impossible. So they know that. So they could open it up at $50 a card bulk and people will grade it because, okay, I graded and I can sell the card for $100. So I'm making $25. But if they really wanted to stimulate the economy, like the government loves stimulus checks, they would open it up at a discount rate, even $10 a card, anything under $99 value. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd bring a little bit of hope to people.
So
that's not really an answer.
I mean, I guess basically the question becomes, again, when they open it up, how much do you think it's going to cost?
If I had a magic ball, I would have just invested in Shiba and have 2 girls on my arm right now and a massage. So, like, I don't have a crystal ball. $25 per card, under $99.
It's fair. It's fair. Okay, so at least you put a number out there. That's good.
I don't know why I'd have 2 girls on my arm. I don't want 2 girls on my arm.
Listen, it sounds fine to me. So, yesterday, October 27th, $28 by now, $22.50
Buy me
on
out.
bids, $28.88. So basically, right around what you think it's going to cost to grade. Which, by the way, I think it's probably going to be more for bulk when it first opens up. But $25 is fair, right? So there are several people who've started off hot in the NBA this year. One of them is SGA, young, fun, don't love Oklahoma City.
I was actually thinking after his performance last night, it might have been the best time of the year to sell.
It's funny, right? It's the best time of the year to sell. I think he's actually going to play pretty well, and I'm not even thinking about this year for him, right? I'm thinking about what he can do going forward. I'm thinking about what he can do, next year, the year after. He's just putting up points. He's filling the stat sheet. The team looks good. And you're right. They obviously had a big win last night, a big headline win.
Is SGA your play?
Not just SGA. SGA base. So I'm going with SGA. I'm going with base. And I'm not even going with PSA 10. I'm going with PSA 9. Wow. Going with SGA 2018 Prism PSA 9. Right? $22.50 yesterday. Less than the cost of grading. And here's what I think. Right? Here's what I think. I think all of these cards that we're getting graded are graded. Okay? I think this is it. I think there's not going to be any more. I think we have the complete and total supply on these, right? And this is my play because it was the first one, easiest one, and because he's a headline grabber, because he started off the season great. But I can probably give you a dozen people who fall into the same category in rookie classes from this year and last, where the grading is done on them. And the pops are done because nobody is going to grade that card for $25, $30, $35, $40, right? And more importantly, this is just the one card. Like I said, we can probably throw a whole bunch of other ones in there. More importantly, this is now a mint PSA 9. Don't grab ugly ones. Don't grab 7s and 6s. Just buy raw. But 9s, mint 9. There will come a point in time, I believe, where people will wake up and say, all right, cards in mint condition that are rookies of the stars or future stars in the league that you can pick up for less than the cost of grading become a bargain, become a play, become an arbitrage play.
A relative bargain, right?
What's
if it costs relative bargain, like if it costs $40 to grade, and I could get a 9 here for 22.
Yep.
Relatively, like I'm getting an $18 discount.
So I'm not saying that this is a bargain right now, right? I'm saying I think that bulk will be $30, $35, 25, whatever the heck it's going to be, right? And because of that, this type of card will be bought. This type of card will be purchased up to 35, 40, 45, whatever dollar it's going to be. Well, there'll be a new floor price, dare I say, for this type of a card on the good players. Because if you happen to have this card, right, and you want to have the card in a slab that's mint 9, you're not going to take your card and grade it for $25 when you can go online right now and buy it for $22. And I'm using this one as an example because I wanted to talk about SGA. I wanted to get you to say exactly what you said, which is he's probably as hot as he's ever going to be. And you can apply it to
his game worries me a lot, Cage.
What's up?
His shot is so ugly.
It is. That 3-pointer he had at the end, I'm like, ugh. We shoot that from the waist,
Very ugly.
But the numbers do not lie. He's athletic. And you know what I like the best? The interview of him after the game. They interviewed him after the game. I watched the interview. Watch it. You might like it. Because he was channeling a little Kobe. He wasn't being a jokester. He was growing up a little bit. And it was almost like, yeah, okay, we won. All right. Like, this is not almost like job's not done. I was getting a kind of like, all right.
Stop giving us credit for winning one game.
Yeah, like I've been in this league long enough to now know I'm not supposed to celebrate a win in game 4 of the season against a team that we probably shouldn't have beat. But guess what? This is what we're out here to do, which was a cool thing for me to watch because, when you're betting on the whole thing, you're betting on a player. Again, this is one play, $22.50 yesterday.
I like the OKC culture. They play really, really hard. Dort, like the Dort chamber.
No, I like Dort.
You're right. Like, there's different strategies when you bet on players, and sometimes, like, you bet on an MPJ, and you're like, this guy has all the talent in the world, but he looks like he doesn't care. Sometimes you got to switch it up and be like, all right, I'd rather ride with someone who probably has a little bit less talent, but he has a heart of a lion versus the heart of like a bunny rabbit. MPJ. By the way, people have been DMing me. I would like with MPJ. I talk about this all the time. I think this is my best skill as an investor. It's hurt me, but it helps me a lot. I cut my losses quick. When investment doesn't go the way I think it will, even 3-4 games in, I'm like, nah, not going to hold, not worth it. I'll take my loss and I'll just keep it moving. Because the stress of a loss, of like holding it and hoping, is actually worse than the money. I don't even like hoping, MPJ, and then it keeps playing out and you're like, I knew it. Why didn't I just sell it 5 weeks ago? So with MPJ, if you guys are asking, cut your losses. If it was me. Yeah, not a believer.
Just what have you seen in the beginning now that you're like, all right, totally different?
Lack of progress, right? At the end of the day, you're either getting better or getting worse. There's no staying the same, and he hasn't improved. He doesn't move off the ball. He's not aggressive. He doesn't find the ball. He waits for the ball to find him. And at the end of the day, you've got to realize that's just not going to change. If it hasn't changed at this point, I'm not going to sit here and hope it changes at the age of 28.
All right, listen, I'm with you on it. I mean, I wasn't sold on him. I might have jinxed it because I finally said in my bold predictions coming into the season, Michael Porter Jr. was going to be a great player and he's going to average 25 points a year on my bold predictions. I finally was the only person who was anti Michael Porter Jesus this whole time, and I finally get on the Michael Porter Jesus bold prediction, and you're like, no, he's done. Get rid of him.
You want to hear my bold prediction?
Yeah.
I think Evan Mobley is going to be a Rookie of the Year. A lot of people don't.
Mobley?
Coutinho Mobley was incredible on the Rockets with Stevie franchise, but no, man. First off, people are not paying attention to this team. They're not going to pay attention to them all year. But the Cavs are a really solid team this year. They're one of the first teams I've seen play like this, Cage. So let me tell you their starting lineup. And this isn't my play, but I think Evan Mobley is really good. Dude, Evan Mobley is a 7-foot small forward.
Wow.
6'11" small forward. How often do you see that? They have Lauri Markkanen plays power forward. Jared Allen plays center. Evan Mobley, 7 foot. He's 6'11". He plays small forward. And then you have Sexton and Garland. And then off the bench, you have Ricky Rubio, Kevin Love. They're an interesting team.
Talk about extremes. They have a humongous front court and a tiny back court.
Really interesting lineup. They just put up 92 on the Cavs and held on the Clippers, and they held the Clippers to 79. Really interesting team. I think they're going to be in the 7 or 8 seed this year.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I bet no one's even paying attention to the Cavs.
No, I'm not. So you're 100% right on that. So what's your play?
My play is the Kobe Topps PSA 9.
Hey, come on.
My theory
almost
is
500 episodes in. I don't know whether or not we've had a day where we both get PSA 9s as a play.
Right.
That's pretty sweet. Look at that.
But the PSA 9s are $340, maybe $280. But dude, those PSA 9s, I guarantee a ton of them would have been PSA 10s. This is the card I know the best. I've seen a ton of this card. It's a high pop card, which is why PSA is worried about giving a ton of 10s. But I guarantee you, if you're able to see, this is a great card to buy at a show, right? Because you get to see it. It's a great card to buy off of like websites or marketplaces where you could really zoom in and they have high quality images and you can kind of see. I will bet, and this is where it gets interesting. I will bet a few of the PSA 9s, not a lot, but a few. There's 12,000 out there are probably BGS 10s. And the markup for a BGS 10 of that card is insane. Insane. A BGS 10 is like a $10,000 to $12,000 card, where PSA 9 is $280 to $350 with the new label PSA 9 specifically.
So how long would it take you to get the card back from BGS?
I wouldn't send it just out of point of pride. But if
I was just going to ask you, hey, do you want to throw a challenge down? Do you want to take some podcast money and you can buy a bunch of PSA 9s, crack them out, send them to BGS and see if we get any 10s. Could be fun.
Could be a fun project for the Tiger Holder Fund.
Yeah, could be fun.
We'll have to let the Crowns vote on it because they get priority voting.
I think it's a good idea. The only problem is, how long before we get them back from BGS? What's the turnaround time? 4 years?
Dude,
no good.
It stops me in my tracks. I can't even talk about it. It's that frustrating. Like, dude, you guys make billions, hundreds of millions of dollars, and like you can't just hire a few marketing people to just give people updates. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Like, to me, like, don't you care about people? Like, well, if you were in their shoes, wouldn't you want to know? I don't get it. I just can't fathom to understand. I would argue SGC might be an interesting play for this card too. But the PSA 9s, beautiful cards. You could see if they're centered first off. It's actually a pretty easy card to grade. The only thing that sometimes throws people off, and it's thrown me off, is on the PSA, like right above Kobe's head, there are like flashing lights. And you don't know if that's a surface issue or part of the card. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's where the surface score gets a little bit wonky. But it's actually a pretty easy card to grade. Corners, you could tell if they're sharp or dinged. You could easily tell the centering. The edges are usually perfect on this card because it was Kobe. It was preserved. He was great right off the bat. So this is an interesting card. PSA 9. It's on Card Ladder. It's valued at $356. It's kind of been hovering in this $350 to $425 range for a while. It got up as high as $550. But the BGS 9.5s, they were selling for over $2K at one point. So,
wow. And what's a PSA 10 sell for?
$2,500, $2,200. It's a card that, like, it's a project, right? Like, you could buy a lot, you could crack them, send them to BGS. You could buy them, right? Like, you could buy them, hold them. Maybe the price goes up and you sell a few, and now you're sitting on profit. Then when PSA opens up, maybe you try bumping a few. If that doesn't work, then you crack and send the BGS. It's a card that has a few options for you to profit, right? Like, price goes up, you profit. You send one to BGS and it pays for the whole lot. If it bumps, and you could crack and send if it bumps at PSA, or you crack and send the BGS. There's a few ways to play it.
I like it. I definitely do. I mean, what's funny about it is, a lot of the stuff that we did arbitrage-wise depended on those grading companies being open, being available at a price point that worked. And it really has changed the hobby. And, you could even make an argument that the fact that those companies weren't able to take all of the demand or meet the demand has sent a lot of hobby money elsewhere. Whether it's graded VHS tapes or comics or NFTs, digital cards. It's really an interesting dynamic. And I hope we get to a point soon where everything kind of open back up and we have some more certainty on it, pricing wise, timing wise, and that kind of stuff.
SGC is an interesting play, guys. So SGC 10s of this card are at $1,200 right now.
Wow.
They were as high as $2,185 on November 23rd. So SGC is also a possible play on this.
So if you buy 10 of them, you hit on 2, you're making money.
You're
making plenty of money.
Yeah, and some people, like, they have like the full setup at home. They have the light, they have like the magnifier, so they could tell, like, these 5 are the best ones to crack and send to SGC. These 5 are the best to hold in a PSA 9 because these are true PSA 9s, and these 5 maybe have a shot at a BGS 10. And if you don't, man, there's a lot of good people out there that this is my favorite part of the hobby. Like gem.city.sportscards, Rick Shin. He's helped me with a ton of stuff, right? He has a really sharp eye. I would send him cards. He would review them, and he would help me navigate. This would be better here. This would be better here. There's a lot of these guys. Some of them, they've used wax in the past and to clean cards. I don't know that whole story. Don't DM me about it. I don't care.
So listen, guys, just to make sure, what Andrew's telling you is buy the ones with the recent slabs, right? The ones that have been graded recently where there was what Andrew would call population control, right? And also, chances are they were looked at with an additional eye for like trimming and that kind of stuff as well, right? So a 9 is a legit 9, probably better than a 9 in a recent slab. And this is important information that we're giving out to you, that because I tried to do this when I first got into the hobby. I'm like, look at all these Derek Jeter gold Topps cards. Let me grab some PSA 9s, and I did, and I cracked a bunch of 9s that I thought were gorgeous 9s, not just the foil one, which I cracked also out of an SGC. Let me crack some of these Topps gold. And I cracked them. I remember sending 5 to PSA. 3 came back 9s. So you're like, oh, 2 10s. Man, you made a killing. No, 2 came back all trimmed. So now I had cards that were in PSA. I went from having 5 PSA 9s to 3 PSA 9s and 2 raw trim cards. That's not the way to do this. Don't do that. Those were in old slabs.
I don't know how they know if a card's trimmed. That's really always interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it is? Minimum size, basically, right? So what they're saying is sometimes the factory, even coming straight out of the pack, it doesn't meet the minimum size to grade it. So,
yeah, but they must measure, like, not to like even the millimeter. They must go even more detailed than that, right? Like where it's like, I don't even know the word, so I'm not even gonna try. Guys, if you're listening to the end, I think this is what makes me a great podcast host, interviewer. I'm curious, right? So I'm sure a lot of the things I said in the beginning of the episode had blind spots. You know, I don't know everything. So if you're out there still listening and let me know, what have I missed? Where are my blind spots in understanding how these businesses operate? Because I want to learn too, right? I want the hobby to grow. I want people to love this hobby, have success, have fun. But I'm probably not seeing everything. Tell me what I'm missing.
Listen, I thought it was great. I liked it. It got me going. It got me, I mean, normally I'm an optimist. I look at a glass and it's like there's one drop missing from it. I'm like 99% full. But you came in with the whole, like, the hobby's trash. And you made me a pessimist for a second there. It was great. I put on a different hat.
The hobby participants are awesome. Great people. A lot of them become my friends virtually and in person. The hobby business owners, also awesome people. I'll leave it at that. They have a responsibility. They could watch the Spider-Man movie if they want. Like, with great power comes great responsibility. Like, sorry, but like the seat you're in is the seat you're in, and it's not enough to just take home money to your family. Like, you do owe it. You do owe it, in my opinion, to make the hobby grow, to make people have fun, to give back. I think is a good way. Love you, Luca Nation.